One of the journey that I've gone on, well, my journey of awakening, like I started to learn about they are actually tribes that can communicate to each other telepathic powers.
Yes,
And there's people
yes,
that's doing astral travel and scientists have measured them. Robert Monroe and his book talks about it.
right.
There's all this stuff that's way more out there, but to generate it consistently is more
Yeah.
challenging. But your approach of what you just talked about, aligning the hip, like that is, you can do it consistently, viable as well.
It gets so crazy that I've only tested about 5 times. I test things thousands of times, but I've only had 5 occasions to test it out. I find somebody who doesn't know my work, like recently it was like a 10-year-old girl. And I said, if you're going to use your finger and do magic with it, which finger would you choose? I'm going to use my right hand. Okay, so I take this finger and I meditate on her finger for like 6 or 7 seconds. And I give it the information of aligning the sphenoid bone and putting energy out there and my whole technique. I give the finger the energy and intention of causing the alignment and information. I says, now just wave your finger, choose a magic word, and have the intention that that person is going to be aligned. And she's there and she says, zoom. And then we measure and it worked. And I go, no, it works. I discovered in my last book, The Secret Nature of Matter, that every kind of physical object, glass, plastic, rubber, paper, pebbles, you name it, styrofoam, everything is able to hold consciousness. And the only way I could test it, the only test I had was if I touched somebody with an object that I meditated on, would that cause the cranial bones and the hips to instantly align? Two impossible things that are visible to the naked eye, and it works better than 99% of the time. You know who Rupert Sheldrake is? He's a famous Cambridge professor who came up with some theories, and he gave a famous TED talk too, called Science Set Free and 10 Dogmas of Science. And TED banned his talk. And you know what he did? He asked questions like, does math, physics, and logic explain everything in the universe? Is there things that aren't set by math, physics, and logic? Is energy healing potentially real? And is modern medicine the only real approach to helping heal people? And so he had 10 dogmas like this, and they banned his talk. But other people put his talk online, and then it got millions and millions of views. Well, I was so excited to meet Rupert Sheldrake because he has been expressing so many of the things that I would like to say, and so much more articulately than I ever could. So when I met with him, I met his wife, Jill, and Jill's right hip was like 5 inches higher than the left. And I said, this doesn't look normal. What happened? She said, oh, I had crushed vertebra years ago. Rupert was on one knee measuring the hip and said, oh my, this is very far off. So I say something to him that's so outlandish. I said, I only expect this to go back 2/3 of the way in the next 6 or 7 seconds. And I didn't know about objects at the time, so I meditated on her sphenoid bone behind her nose and eyes and gave it a little mental turn. And then he measured her, and she went from about 5 inches off to about an inch, inch and a half off. And he said, oh, it's clearly better. And then she saw it on him, and then he saw it on 2 more people. But it was such a radical thing that he later went into denial and said, well, there's probably no relationship between what you showed me and my 10 dogmas of science, even though it clearly showed 4 of them right off the top. But he's still a supporter now of my work. But it's so difficult for people who have a science background to accept that something that looks like magic is repeatable, teachable, visible, and it's so groundbreaking. It would change our understanding of quantum theory. It would change our assumptions about reality. It would change human identity in the long run. And that's what we're going to play with in my documentary. It's going to be called the Galileo Project. If you had visible paradigm changing information before the world was ready to see it.